Mr. Speaker?
The delegate from Fairfax. Delegate Simon.
Speaking to the bill.
Destroy the roll. The delegate from Fairfax.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, speaking to this bill, I want to talk for just a second about what this bill is. This is the first of a number of bills that we're going to see along these lines, which continue to sort of perpetuate the myth, or you want to call it the big lie, spread by MAGA Republicans, that our elections are being stolen. That there's something wrong here, that there's corruption happening, that there are people, dead people, showing up and voting at the polls, or massive amounts of impersonation of people who ought to be disqualified somehow showing up and trying to vote twice. And the fact is, Mr. Speaker, that doesn't happen. It isn't true. And this bill isn't necessary. And how do I know it's not true? Because the NAACP, as you may recall, sent a FOIA request to the Attorney General's office asking for information about their election integrity unit, and asked specifically if they could get a record of all the criminal cases that had taken place since 2008 related to election cheating. And the Attorney General's office responded, there are no such records. Right? And we heard from Victoria Lasavita, the Attorney General Mieres' spokesperson, said, she noted that Mieres has repeatedly affirmed there is no evidence of widespread election fraud in Virginia. Right? So you don't need to take it from me that we don't have election fraud. You don't need to take it from anybody on this side of the aisle. We're hearing it from the Attorney General and his election integrity unit. We don't have widespread fraud. So why do we need this bill? We don't. So why has this bill been introduced? The bill's been introduced because folks need to check a box with your MAGA Republican base that says, hey, look, I am worried about election fraud. I'm worried about dead people voting. We're going to do something to make it better. We're going to create a requirement that you take people off the rolls within 7 days of learning any information that they might not qualify for the ballot. So what's the harm in that, you might ask? The harm in that is that you might get it wrong. And you end up depriving people of their freedom to vote, their freedom to participate in the democracy because you're moving too fast. So in my day job, as a real estate attorney, I have to deal with clearing judgments for people all the time to make sure they have clear title to their property. And I can't tell you how many times we get a Michael Smith. This maybe has a judgment against his property, and maybe they don't. And sometimes it takes a couple days to figure out if we're dealing with that right Michael Smith or not. And what this bill would require you to do is say, well, let's just disqualify him. We got 7 days. We'll disqualify him whether we know it's the right person or not. You're going to end up depriving people of their freedom to select the members that represent them, the representatives. It's a bad bill. It's unnecessary. It's about checking a box and perpetuating the big lie. I hope that we will all vote no on this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.